be with you. Peace be with you. Step into the Breach campaign, 4 Mondays, and Kim has helped us with the spot for the customers and the efficient.
Thank you so much, David, and thank you all for being here for another Moral Monday. I'm so grateful for folks who continue to show up, to stand in the breach, to fight on behalf of those who are often on the margins and not thought about and not cared for. Today, I am particularly honored to stand with you all as we talk about the importance of housing, both in terms of making sure that people have access to housing, are able to stay in their homes, not be exploited while they're there, and of course, take care of our friends who make their beds currently on the streets. I'm Reverend Senator Kim Jackson. The Reverend part of my name means that I have the honor and privilege of caring for people who are part of my worshiping community, many of whom find their beds on the streets of Atlanta every single night. My congregation is full of people who this system has failed. There's been no safety net, and the only thing that has caught them has been a bridge or a sidewalk, and at times maybe an alcove in a street or under a church. But we are here today because we know that's not okay. We're here today to demand that as a system, as a state, that we care for all who now today make their bed on the streets. We know that we have enough resources. There are enough resources. This is not a money issue. Truly, this is really a re-issue. But we know we have enough resources to make sure that every single person living in the state of Georgia can live in a home. And so I'm glad that there are people here to stand and fight for that, and I'm glad to stand and fight with them. With that, I will turn it over for the rest of the program. Thank you all so much.
Welcome to our annual Monday and Will Senator of the coordinating committee of the Georgia Poor People's Campaign. And we believe that we can create a loving community where everyone can thrive and nobody gets left behind. And that's the vision of our campaign. Today, our focus is definitely going to be on housing and homelessness. Funding for the federal housing voucher program was eliminated in the big, horrible, ugly bill from last year. 7,000 to 11,000 homes impacted on its bills. There's been a 29% increase in homeless Georgians since 2018, and 33% of Georgians are concerned about housing affordability. Expansion of the Georgia Housing Voucher Program is what we're asking for to keep the mentally ill homeless out of prison or hospitals. We have a number of speakers today. I want to start with our partner today. A home for everyone in Dekalb. Greg White will lead off first.
Good morning. Good morning. As we walked over today from the parking lot, we heard from several speakers. One of the things I observed was still the amount of normal people living on the street. Think about the weather. Friday was 80 degrees. Yesterday, now it's 31. High today, maybe 40, tonight is in the 20s. We were in the parks in Dekalb on yesterday. We happened to see over 45 to 50 individuals waiting on snacks and bought cars to get to water centers. But we must be an approach of emergency intervention immediately. We must have the service capacity to expand. They were just mentioned about mental illness on the street. Housing. I leave with 3 things that we must do. 1, we must have passion. 2, we must have collaboration. 3, we must have creative thinking and not robotic thinking. We know there's funding in this state. You look at Mercedes-Benz, look how quickly we built a Mercedes-Benz stadium to accommodate all the activities. World Cup is coming. Look at all the movement of dollars in this state. But there is no plan to unhouse people for the World Cup. Today, I ask opportunity, I'm going to step out of the way. One of the most important things is we raise the voice for those who are actually living this. We're going to hear from some people in a few minutes. Some people were unhoused as soon as last week. We had people Workforce Development House in Oakhurst. Show you how low barrier it was. We have a young lady in the crowd. She was homeless on Monday. On Wednesday, she is now housed in the house. This is a house for 11 women with no income. This is people with no income. So at this point, I'm going to step out of the way, but I'll just leave you with this for you to think about tonight. Nobody talks about this day. In 2025, 170 people died on the streets. 41 in Dekalb, 129 in Portsmouth, 4 unidentified. We can't do better. So we must say people over politics. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to one of my dear friends, Mel Winfrey.
Good morning, everyone. And again, my name is Mel. I'm known as Mel. And I just want to represent an invisible population within the unhoused and homeless community. I believe we're invisible, and that's women and women with children. When people think of homelessness, they and unhoused, they think of men naturally. That might be what you see the most when you're driving, when you see the camps. But the invisible population is not only women and women with children, but those who have professional backgrounds. Everybody on the street was not born on the street or of the street. You have professionals, you have people with education, skills, whatever it may be, where anyone can find themselves without income. It's very important that we not forget that. And a home for everyone and the Georgia Works program and the home that they have been able to create, the program that they create, helps people transition from being homeless to being able to get back on your feet. And that's the most important part. Shelters are important and we need more funding for that, but what's the next step? And we all know with the big, beautiful bill, it wasn't so beautiful. The only thing that trickles down is the harm that it creates. That's what trickles down, the cuts from all the federal funding. So the state of Georgia needs to be one of the red or purple states that steps up and helps and bridge that gap so that people can have housing. And the voucher program is a wonderful way to do that, as well as other programs and organizations such as the Home for Everyone in Georgia Works. So please remember that not everybody fits the stereotype. There's a lot of people who fall through the cracks because they don't qualify for particular programs, but there are new programs that are out there, and we definitely need the funding and the help and the support. So thank you for listening.
Volunteer at First United for the rest of my life. And I just want to leave you with this. I'm not, passing, we have some language or something like that, but I take the greatest example from Jesus Christ. He was the first greatest servant to show us what's the greatest thing we could do. It's not being a leader, pastor, or anything of that nature, but we have to service to others. And it says, Jesus Christ, who came not to be served, but to serve. And you can find that in Mark chapter 10, verse 45. That's the stuff for me. Even though I'm housed, I have a great passion to help those who are not as fortunate as myself right now. And whatever I can do to be the face, the advocate, whatever their mouthpiece, because they can't tell their story, I will be willing to step in their shoes and do that. Thank you.
I think we all realize there's no scarcity of resources in the state of Georgia. We've got billions of dollars sitting in bank accounts, not going to do billions. These can be used to help people use us for speed. We're going to change a little bit now, and we're going to have Peter Hubbard, our public service commissioner, talk to us about how energy cost affects affordability of housing. Peter.
In Georgia, what we've seen is that after housing, energy, and your utility bills are the second biggest expense, and it is increasingly difficult for people on fixed incomes or low-income folks who are bewildered at their energy consumption staying the same, yet their bills going up. And we can do something about that. We can do it, and we have levers of power. We're working on that. Public Service Commission, we now have 2 commissioners that are focused on energy affordability and how critical that is to keeping folks housed. Because when you can't afford your energy bills, that's one of the reasons why people push out of their housing situations, is that unaffordability. So we're working on that with the Public Service Commission. There's a load of things that can be done. We've heard about this. There are lots of money out there. So the Georgia Environmental Finance Authority is an incredible resource with home energy efficiency rebates. I'm working to get the message out there about the way to reduce your energy bill, the unit of energy that you never have to purchase in the first place is always going to be the lowest possible energy. And that's what we're trying to do, is to find ways to be more efficient, to lower folks' power bills. And there are really great resources out there. But that work is ongoing, and we've got a lot of work ahead of us as well. So I'll just say that there are so many solutions out there. Distributed energy resources that can help lower folks' power bills. And again, just things like weatherization. I took advantage of an junior weekend to weatherize an elderly gentleman's household, and we were able to reduce his power bill by about 40% and also make it much more comfortable for this cold weather. So there's a whole host of things we can do. We just have to row in the same direction. We are doing that now in the Public Service Commission. We have more work to do, and we're looking for that third member who will join us in working to bring down power bills for people. But all that to say that this is really a whole picture thing. We have to look at housing in terms of the cost of being in that house and the energy that's associated with it. And we can do a lot of great things there. We just have to have the focus on it. So I'm so appreciative of being here on this Monday to talk about what it is that we can do at the Public Service Commission here in this building. And we'll be working on those efforts throughout this year and into the future, because people deserve to live in affordable housing, and they deserve to have that dignity in life of being able to afford the everyday things that we all deserve. Everyone deserves a human right to have electricity, and it needs to be affordable as well. So just know that that work is ongoing in the Public Service Commission. We have our work cut out for us, as I said, but I'm very pleased to be there. The name of the institution is the Public Service Commission, and we need to put public service back in this commission.
That's right.
who are recently homeless and high risk of housing instability. So they cut this program for people who are in that category. If you are experiencing stalking, if you are experiencing human trafficking, if you're escaping from that, if you're at risk of homelessness, if you have your hours cut and your pay stub is going to come up short and you can't make rent, you're at risk of homelessness now. The emergency housing voucher programs help you out if your state of emergency has been cut. Have you guys seen the plan forward? I haven't seen it. No. Is there a plan? There's no plan. I haven't seen it. Have you seen it? I have not seen it. And so what I like about our larger sheet here, it says policy violence. In my opinion, I think that when there is something that's detrimental to a vulnerable population, and there's no plan to do anything positive about it, there's no moral budget, there's no, well, okay, so we have, our fact sheet says 7,000 to 11,000 Georgians are impacted by these cuts. I'm willing to bet it's more now, with housing costs going up and up and up and up and up. I don't think it's only 11,000. There's no way. So when you have this number growing and growing and you refuse to do anything about it, that's violent. You use policy for violence. That's reckless violence. If I were to drive fast all over the road, not worrying about who I hit, a crowd of people, reckless violence, it's the same thing. But let me use policy and let me just, they'll figure it out. One thing that I liked that we were talking about earlier was this is not just the stereotype of, a man with a stick and a rag tied underneath it. This is women and children. Women and children out there in the cold. It's cold today. Last month, what did we have? It was cold last month. It was a state of emergency. In a state of emergency, the emergency housing voucher program was cut. Does that make any kind of sense? And there's no path forward. It is violence. It's violence. So I just wonder, honestly, what the women and children did to deserve the experience of sleeping on the street in the cold. And how many people did we say had passed away? It was 107. I bet it's more that we know about. Think about it. That we know about. It was freezing last month, and we're just talking about in one part of Georgia here, right? Think about everywhere else, and there's no moral plan forward. There's nothing they want to do about it. And so, as utility bills rise, more and more people are going to be affected by this, and they're going to have to come to the decision of, am I going to pay the Georgia power bill, or my rent, or this traffic ticket, or my grocery prices, or my insurance, or my car note? And like I said, this is not just people who are already homeless, it's people who are at risk of becoming homeless. And there's no path forward. And so, as I close, I just want to shout that from the rooftops. If anybody out there is pretending not to listen, I encourage you to open your ears and be more compassionate. So, thank you.
Next speaker is Janina Dennis of the Poor People's Campaign and Absolute Justice Now.
Good evening. Did you guys hear 170 plus be with you this morning about an issue that's dear to my heart, which is affordable housing. I've been a pastor in Dekalb County for 15 years, and I know you all think pastors work one day a week, but we do not. We are called to love and care for our congregations and also to love and care for our neighbors, and sometimes that means we pay attention to the people in our community who are really struggling. A lot of times that means making referrals to people who come to the church, to partners like Greg, to partners like Dekalb Cooperative Ministry. But something strange happened about 6 or 7 years ago. The number of calls we got in the church started going up. More calls than we expected, and we called our partners, and they said, no, we're at capacity. You go down to the Dekalb Library, you see people hanging out in front. More and more, it seems, every week. Something was going on, and we couldn't figure it out. But we in the churches and in the nonprofit sector weren't equipped to take care of all of the needs that we were seeing. Well, turns out, something was happening. Housing prices were going up. We have the data now. Between 2018 and 2023, home prices went up 45 to 50% in Georgia. Rental prices went up 42%. A one-bedroom apartment went from $1,100 to $1,600. Let me put that in context, because if you're not good at math, I am not good at math. That means you have to make $60,000 a year to afford a one-bedroom apartment. A quarter of renting households in Atlanta area spend more than half of their income on housing. Something is broken. They built a brand new housing development right across the street from my church. We were excited, new potential members. But we asked the developers, how many units will be affordable? They looked at us with a blank stare. There was no incentive in Dekalb County for builders to build affordable. So they built it all at above market level. But because the neighbors got together and the church spoke up, they ended up putting affordable senior housing at the very back of the development. People's voices matter in these conversations. But I didn't come to talk about numbers. I want to finish by talking about morality. I want to talk about what's right. I'm a pastor. I'm motivated by the teachings of Jesus. Jesus said, love your neighbor as yourself. I'm motivated by the wisdom of Dr. King, who talked about something called beloved community. I am motivated by a vision that I hope you share. That's a vision in which every person in the state of Georgia, whether you're 5 or 45 or 75, every person has a safe and affordable place to call home. 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 That's what we're talking about when we talk about housing. We're talking about home. Home is the foundation of everything. Home is where you lay your head at night. Home is where you gather around the kitchen table with your family. Home is where you celebrate life's accomplishments. Home is where you grieve life's tragedies. Home is the place that you leave from at the beginning of the day and you come back to at night. Every person in Georgia deserves a home. Amen? Private market can't do it. It won't do it. And I think some people in this building think the churches should take care of the need all by ourselves. We can't do it. It's going to take all of us. Private citizens and faith communities and home builders, and yes, the people who work in this building to work together. And we can do this. We can create beloved community. We can take the broken housing policies that we inherited and fix them. We can make a home for each other. That is what God calls us to do. Say amen. Amen.
I begin with some gratitude. First, I want to thank Reverend Senator Kim Jackson for sponsoring our Step Into the Breach campaign. so that we can reserve this space for our press conferences. I thank our staff, Tina and Darren, for facilitating all of those parts. And thanks to all of our speakers today. Let's give them a big hand. Our partners in the campaign, especially the Interfaith Children's Movement, the King Center, a Home for Everyone in Dekalb, and the Nonviolent Medicaid Army Reserve, thanks for participating in the planning process since September of last year. And thanks to the Georgia Budget Policy Institute for making sure our numbers have been accurate. And I want to thank Central Presbyterian Church across the street. They opened their space for us to gather. Finally, thank you to all of our supporters, all of you who came today to support us, for showing up with your signs and your messages of love and caring for the poor and vulnerable in Georgia. Peace.